I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thursday, January 16th, 2025, Town Planning and Zoning Commission at 7:03 PM. First item on the agenda is a roll call.
We have Chair Byron Lester,
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Hussein, Commissioner Dwight Bolton, Commissioner Leon Peters,
Here.
Commissioner Stephen Millet, Commissioner Jennifer Marsh Neely. Here. Commissioner Kevin Goff,
Here.
Commissioner Ola Ina,
Here.
Commissioner Kathy Blunt, and Commissioner Renee James.
Here.
And Commissioner Dwight Bolton just arrived. We have a quorum.
Thank you. With the commission's permission, I'm going to rearrange the agenda and go to item 4 first, and that is the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for September 19th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussions, corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstention? Chair votes aye. The next set of minutes is the meeting October 24th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any corrections, discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose? Abstention? Chair votes aye. Next set of minutes is the meeting of December 5th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second. Any corrections, discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Abstain.
Two abstentions. Commissioner Millet and Commissioner Bolt. And the chair votes aye. Next set of minutes to approve is December 19th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second. Any corrections, discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
I think this is overall fine. I would like the who was there and who was not there to be sort of specified better. I think that I'm trying to find them now. I think that some of it's confusing. For example, it has you as hybrid and you were present at the meeting. So I would just like to have the who was there, who was not there, gone back and in person and on who was online. I know Commissioner James was here, Commissioner Peters was here. So I'd like that corrected, and then the other thing is, I think the only other thing, that the major thing is when we're talking about the plan of conservation and development, there is a point where it says, with respect to the town planner, that it will be approved in February. I think what is meant by that is that we will start the 65-day review period. We would be able to start the 65-day review period in February, not approve the final POCD. So with those two corrections, I think we're fine.
Okay. Is there any further corrections? Joyce, were you able to get those?
So noted. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Duly noted. Any further corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstention?
Abstain.
There's two abstentions, Commissioner Marshall Neely and Commissioner Bolton. And the chair votes aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda, we'll go to old business, and we'll hear a presentation or an update from Justin regarding the plan of conservation development.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
apologies if this is not the right way to do this, but can we do any of the public hearings where people who are attending can go first? They don't have to sit through our discussions.
Actually, that's why we did it the other way. So Justin could go first and get the presentation out of the way. But I'll just ask the commission, is there any preference?
Can we do Justin and then jump to public hearings and then finish with inclusionary zoning?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Any objections to that? Okay, great. Justin?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Justin LaFountain with Goldman and York. I don't think this will take very long at all. So hopefully we can get to the public hearing sooner. But basically, I just wanted to give a quick presentation of some of the changes that were made based on last meeting's discussions. And primarily, a lot of the changes that you're going to see in there are it's kind of interesting, the removal of inclusions of references to Bloomfield and other states. What we ended up finding, and I thank Commissioner Goff for pointing out a lot of this, was that the draft preparation had references to items in Bloomfield that were in Bloomfield, Michigan, Bloomfield, Pennsylvania. I think there was a Bloomfield, New Jersey or something like that. So point being, now that Goldman York's gone through that and sort of fixed some of those original issues, everything in there should be directly related to Bloomfield. So that was a big fix. So again, thank you for all those who pointed those out. Beyond that, what I did was, in the light of last month's comments, was try to address some of the overall sort of outstanding issues, which really weren't a lot. But what I did was things like in the transportation section, I more specifically called out the intersections in the town center zone. So that way, when funds become available and different changes need to be made to the roadways, there's specific intention to do that in those areas, along with the the Cottage Grove and Blue Hills Ave intersection. Additionally, we included some things, including about the electric grid, which talks about burying the electrical wires. That was neglected in the first draft, so we included that now, both in the goals table and in the text of the document. We also included, I think it was Commissioner Hussein's suggestion of including requirements that plans be filed digitally just for the future. That way everything is not only a paper copy in the town vault, but also something that can be easily accessed online. So those were some of the bigger changes that were made. There are still a few changes that we need to make. We received some comments really within the past couple of days that will change some of the economic growth section that includes the tax numbers and things like that. Those will be to you, I'm guessing, within a week or two, probably less than 2 weeks, I'm guessing within the next week or so. That way you can continue moving this process along. But I'm happy to answer any questions. At this point, it was really more of a cleanup stage. One of my recommendations is that I know there's been a lot of discussion about the maps and the changes that need to be made for the maps. Goldman York wasn't contracted to fix any of those. So that's, I think it's probably something that you guys can do in-house, but it's discussions that you need to have in the future. What changes need to be made to the future land use map, and to Commissioner Goff's comments as well, to the farmland map. So.
Okay. Is that it, Justin?
I think that's pretty much it, but I'm happy, like I said, any questions, comments, I'm here for you guys.
All right, thank you. Jonathan?
I think Justin's covered. I think in terms of the maps, we now have the file, and we have printed, and over there on the table is a blown up copy of the future land use map, which is a map I think we need to spend some time on because we have not discussed the maps. We had we had to go outside to have that done. We have attempted to, and we will get it done, print some smaller size maps for you to have hard copies of to deal with that are larger, obviously, than the ones that you have on your screens, unless you have a very large screen at home. And those will be available. And we can manipulate the maps, and we can actually do that with any of the maps. We do have that capability. I think beyond that, I think it's really, as Justin said, there are some minor things in response to some more recent comments that he's going to clean up, and then I think it's in the commission's domain to have its discussions and with a view to at our February meeting, hopefully determining that at that point we can implement the 65-day review period and put it out for public comment. Obviously, if the commission is not comfortable at that point, you can move it on. But it would seem to me that we should be fairly close at that point. We can obviously have some discussion at this meeting, Mr. Chairman, and if you want to schedule a special session just to deal with the POCD and any additional, particularly on the future land use map, staff is prepared to accommodate that.
All right, thank you. Right now, we'll take some questions if the commission have any questions for Justin. And we'll start with Commissioner Millet. Any questions?
I don't think I have any additional questions at this point.
Thank you. Commissioner Bolton.
This isn't a question for Justin, more for John and Linda and maybe you, Byron. Are we going to address or discuss at some point in the future, including a commercial zone inside of Bloomfield?
Yes, I think that'd be part of the discussion of the future land use map.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Marshall Neely. Any questions?
Thank you. I do not have any questions at this point.
Commissioner James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Justin, can you just clarify? Last meeting, I asked just for some updates in the future land use section on mentioning more missing middle or diverse housing stock. Were there any changes from the last version to this version, or is that reserved because of it's in the future land use section?
Exactly. So I didn't change any of that at this point because those discussions are really going to revolve around where the map goes. Not so much off the record, but I do have recommendations that would be to include that, and to Commissioner Bolton's point, to include a commercial zone as opposed to an industrial zone. But because so much of that's going to revolve around the map, I didn't want to write anything that was going to end up not reflecting what the map will eventually show. So that's something where, you'll have the text of the document to be able to just tweak that whenever you need to for, once the map is decided upon.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Goff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't have any questions for Justin. I think that Goldman New York has done a good job of, moving this along and getting it to somewhere where we can hopefully work with and finish it up shortly. I think my major question is just to the chair and the commission of, how do we find time or what do we do to sit down and deal with the future land use map? As I said, the other map question I had, and I'd asked Goldman New York about it and did not know they were not going to do anything with the maps, is I also would like to see the section on farmland, the map that's in the current draft from the original consultant is really pretty useless because it shows farmland soils, most of which is under buildings now. So that's not going to do us much good in farming. I would like to go back and use use a map very similar to what's in the 2012 POCD. And of course, I think some of that zoning can also be on the future land use map. I think we need to be very strongly about putting agricultural land on the future land use map so that we can point to that when people come in and want to put other things on the farming areas. My only question is how we are going to, how we are practically going to get this done. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly open to a special meeting that we can just focus directly on that. Commissioner Ina, any questions regarding Justin's PLCD presentation or update?
Question at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Commissioner Peters, any questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, and I also at this time have no questions. Appreciate the update, Justin.
Absolutely. Thank you. If anything else comes up, feel free to direct questions through John or Linda and we'll get them, addressed as best we can.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
you.
Justin.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, next item on the agenda, we're going to go into our public hearing. We'll come back for the inclusionary zoning discussion. So at this time, we have a continuation and the chair will entertain a motion to reopen public hearing for 31 Toby Road, Unit 22, special permit application per section 4.3.c.4.d of Bloomfield zoning regulations to allow a general repair and used car dealer in the I-1 district. Applicant is Dennis Denack, owner, 31 Toby Road LTD. Is there a motion to reopen this hearing?
So moved.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, chair votes aye. Okay, before we go into this public hearing, I just want to give our process on how we conduct our public hearings. We first hear a presentation from the applicant. We then take comments from our planning director. We'll then take questions from the audience. We'll take questions from the commission. We'll have comments from the audience. We'll then take comments from the commission. And then the applicant will have one last chance to make any closing remarks before we close the public hearing. So is there anyone here for the 31 Toby Road, Unit 22 application? Okay, can you take the podium and state your name and address?
Hi, good evening. My name is Dinesh Dennis. My address is 4 Annie Lane, Vernon, Rockville, Connecticut. Trying to open a auto mechanic and used car dealership at 31 Toby Road, Unit 22. I hope you guys grant me the license or the permit to continue doing that, so. All right.
Okay, is there anything else you want to tell us about the application or?
The last time I was on the Zoom, I couldn't really use it properly, really. So, one thing about the application is, I think I was being basically penalized for what was going on in the complex or the compound. So the landlord says he straightened out a couple of stuff that you guys had required. So I think it's all in your favor right now, or your hands, to overlook it or see what's to be done or what was done.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, we'll take our comments from the director. Jonathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if the commission recalls, this application and the one immediately following, two applications for Toby Road were continued from the last meetings based on the fact that the staff had concerns about the overall condition that was existing at the overall property where these applicants are part of and would be tenants of one of many tenants. And we indicated at that time that we would be meeting with the landlord and owner of the property to address those issues. I'm pleased to report that we've had two positive sessions with the property owner, one on site. Linda, myself, and the zoning enforcement officer were on site, and the owner happened to be there, and we spent a considerable amount of time going through the entire site and pointing out and addressing and receiving commitments from the property owner, and he has begun to make those improvements. And then subsequent to that meeting, there was a meeting with that included the land use office, the building office, the fire marshal, and the police department, and the property owner, hosted by the town manager, where it was again made very firm to the property owner what needed to happen on that property in terms of compliance with all the various codes and regulations, and a very firm commitment to that regard was received from the property owner and from his son, who has joined him in operating that facility, which I think is a very positive event. So I think the staff is comfortable in indicating to the commission that the property owner is being responsive and addressing the issues that need to be addressed, and that neither of these two applications should be penalized, maybe too strong a word, but should be continued on the basis of actions or no actions by the property owner. And we find that this particular application does meet the purpose of the I-1 district and does comply with the special permit procedures. And we would recommend approval by the commission and have so suggested in our report to you with a suggested motion.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience with any questions regarding this application or online? Is there anyone with any questions?
No one with their hand raised. We have 2 attendees, but not.
All right, then we'll start with the commission. Commissioner Millet, any questions regarding this application?
No questions.
Commissioner Bolton,
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Marshall Neely,
I have no questions at this time.
Commissioner James,
No questions.
Commissioner Goff,
No questions.
Commissioner Ina,
No questions.
Commissioner Peters,
No questions.
and the chair has no questions. We'll now go to comments. See, there's no one out there for comments, so we'll start at this end. Commissioner Goff, any comments?
I don't have any comments on the application other than happy to approve a new business. I do think one of the things I guess I would ask the planner and in general is if we have a rental location like this that the owner has problems with the location. Is there some way to alert an applicant to that before they come in so that we won't have someone in the situation that they're putting an application in? Is there some way to change that procedure?
We have a fairly candid conversation with any applicant who comes in about the property that they're interested in. I do not remember the direct conversation we may or may not have with this applicant, but in response to your question, if there were issues on the property, we would make that information available.
I assumed we would. I just want, I would like to avoid this situation, obviously, in the future. Thank you.
Commissioner James, any comments?
I just want to thank you for your patience, Mr. Dinesh. I realize it was a lot to get caught up in, so I apologize for that. And I just really appreciate you for choosing Bloomfield to do your business.
Thank you, Bloomfield Town, for accepting me.
Okay. Commissioner Marshall Neely, any comments?
I just simply want to say that I am always happy to see good, strong businesses come into Bloomfield and fit into the fabric of our community. So I thank you for that. And whatever that path was that brought you here, I don't think it was a bad path. I think it was a learning experience, something that, as you grow, you will know, and you'll be able to teach someone else who comes in after you, oh, this is what we need to do. But I applaud you and I congratulate you on your strength and your stamina trying to get this thing through.
Thank you very much. It's just knowledge, and that's a process of life, having knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Bolton,
No comments, Mr. Chair, but welcome to the town of Bloomfield, sir.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Millet,
No comments.
Commissioner Peters.
So yeah, I definitely want to echo the comments of my fellow commissioners, and you want to just extend a not essentially like apology, but I want to reflect your tenaciousness and your encouragement to work in Bloomfield and be a part of Bloomfield. I'm sorry that you got wrapped up in this situation, but your devotion to maintain your business within this town, I truly appreciate, and I'm glad that you're steadfast in working within Bloomfield and with our Bloomfield residents. So I appreciate your business and I appreciate you, and thank you.
Commissioner Aina.
I have no comment at this time, just to echo what has been said by my fellow commissioners, especially the point raised by Mr. Goff, in which applicants do not get caught up in situations that they do not have control over, and especially in a situation where they have done their part in compliance. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I would just like to say, in spite of the little hiccup that you experienced, I'm glad that staff and the owner was able to work through this to benefit you and the next applicant also. So we welcome you and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
At this time, is there anything you'd like to say before we close this public hearing?
No, I'm happy that you guys accept my application, and I understand that my dad always said to me, wherever you go in life, there's always rules. Even if you go to L, there's gonna be rules down there because the devil ain't gonna let you install the AC down there. So straight up, it's just process.
Great.
And so, thank you very much.
At this time, the chair entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, chair votes aye. Okay, commission, the chair entertain a motion.
I can make a motion. I'll move to approve the request by Denise D. Tanash for a special permit use to allow a used dealer and auto repair shop, service shop under section 4.3.C.4.D, any non-residential use not otherwise prohibited, which takes place within the confines of an enclosed building where no goods, equipment, or material are stored outside at 31 Topi Road, Unit 22, with the following conditions outlined in the town plan and zoning memo dated January 10th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this application signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose, abstention, chair votes aye. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
He's gotta get his license.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is also a continuation of a public hearing. And the chair entertain a motion to reopen this hearing at 31 Toby Road, Unit 14-15, special permit application per section 4.3.C.4.D of Bloomfield zoning regulations to allow an audio sale and installation establishment in an I-1 district.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to reopen. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstention, chair votes aye. Is there anyone here from that application? would like to present. Would you please take the podium and state your name and address?
Good evening. My name is Lisa Freeman, 33 Rivera Drive, Apartment 4, Bloomfield, Connecticut, 06002.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us regarding your application?
I submitted an application for 31 Toby Road, Unit 1415, for audio, sales, and installation, to include navigation systems, audio sound systems, remote starters, TVs, hoping to expand to like tinting, car wraps, down the line.
Okay. Thank you. Jonathan, would you like to comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As with the prior application, the same property owner. We have had conversations as indicated on site and in the meeting with the manager to address the issues, and we believe the property owner is responsive to that. And based on that, we do not think that these applications should be delayed any further. And we find that this application meets the purpose of the I-1 district and does comply with the special permit procedure. And staff would recommend approval by the commission, subject to the conditions we set forth. And we have a suggested motion in our report dated January 10.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience with any questions, in-house or online? If not, we'll start with the commission, and I'll start online first. Commissioner Peters, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Ina, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Millet?
No questions.
Commissioner Bolton?
No questions.
Commissioner Marshall Neely?
No questions.
Commissioner James?
No questions.
Commissioner Goff?
No questions.
And the chair has no questions. This time we'll go to the comment section. Is there anyone in-house or online with any comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll start with Commissioner Ina. Any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Peters, any comments?
One comment I have would echo the comment I previously made. I'm sorry that you got tied up in this whole debacle or this whole shenanigans, whatever you want to call it. I'm definitely glad that you stayed tenacious as well, and you're motivated to work in the town of Bloomfield and bring your business here. And I'm happy to accept that and accept you into this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start at that end. Commissioner Goff, any comments?
Just to echo Commissioner Peters. Thank you for coming to Bloomfield, and thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Peters. I'm sorry, Commissioner James.
No worries, Mr. Chair. Also echo comments made by Mr. Peters. Appreciate your patience, and I know you sat through a very long meeting last time, so apologies for that. But I really wish you the best of luck in your business, and welcome to Bloomfield.
Thank you.
I apologize. Commissioner Marshall Neely.
Thank you. I concur with Commissioner Peters, and I want to say thank you for investing in Bloomfield. That's a huge thing, and I love that. So I applaud you. I thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bolton.
No comments, but welcome to Bloomfield.
Thank you.
Commissioner Millet.
No comments.
And for myself, I'll say the same thing. In spite of the bump you went through, I'm glad staff and the owner was able to work through it to get you to where we are today. And I just wish you the best of luck. With that said, is there any last minute comments that you'd like to make before we close this public hearing?
No, I just wanted to thank you for, accepting the application, giving me an opportunity to start a business in Bloomfield. I did actually have another question that actually, I guess it pertains to this, that there was a special permit submitted for a wall to be taken down within the business. And I guess that was put on hold until this was approved, from my understanding. So, and that's been since October as well.
I don't think we've seen that, but we'll
No,
look
it's
into it.
not a special permit, it's a building permit.
Or building
Building
permit.
permits were applied for before approvals from land use.
Oh, okay.
So technically, after approval from land use, you can go ahead and approve that
Gotcha.
upon the filing of the special permit. So once that special permit is filed, it'll be released.
Okay. So my other comment is, just the process in general, if you're not familiar with the process, it's a lot of different steps. It's a lot of calling, a lot of asking questions. I just felt like it wasn't good communication, as far as through the process, for me anyways. I only can speak for myself. So, just, reaching out, just wondering what's going on, just hearing today that this process had to be approved first, but not getting that information when I was requesting to know what was going on and inquiring. So, and then also the comment that you made, just knowing when you put in an application, if there is, a situation with the property or the landlord that would hinder your application being approved, that was never communicated when I came to submit an application. So, nobody's ever had that conversation with me from the beginning. Not that that would have stopped me from still applying, but it was never communicated that, well, you know what, it's not going to be approved because this is what's going on. So I just wanted to note that.
Thank you for sharing that because we can always improve things whenever we fall short. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
At this time, the chair entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, chair votes aye. Chair will now entertain a motion on this application.
I'll do it this time. I motion to approve the request by Lisa N. Freeman for a special permit to allow an audio retail and installation service establishment under section 4.3.c.4.d. Any non-residential use not otherwise prohibited, which takes place within the confines of an enclosed building where no goods, equipments, or materials are stored outside at 31 Toby Road, Unit 14-15, with the following conditions as listed in the Planning and Zoning Staff Report dated January 10th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this application signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose, abstention, chair votes aye. Motion carries. Congratulations. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we're going to go back up to old business for a discussion on inclusionary zoning. Jonathan, do you have any updates on that?
Mr. Chairman, I do not. We've been, quite frankly, working on the POCD and our budget. I do have, I've received some very detailed and sound recommendations from Commissioner Goff. I do not have any others, and I think the commission needs to decide at this point or have a conversation either tonight or at a future meeting in terms of exactly what they want in these, finalize what they would like in these regulations so we can then move the process to begin to incorporate them into the zoning regulations. Whether you want to wait till you have the support of the new POCD, because there will be a variety of changes that have to affect after that's adopted over time, or whether these are sufficiently critical, which they may well be, we can move forward much more rapidly.
I think the commission wanted to discuss some of this tonight. So with that said, I guess that's all Jonathan has to say. So what we'll do is we'll take any comments from the commission regarding this, and we'll start down with Commissioner Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I echo everything that Planner Coleman said. I think we have a decent working document, which was the draft that Don Poland supplied back in April, and we've looked at a couple of times. That's what I was working from, and we discussed that in some detail the last time we discussed this. I think we made some decisions, some tentative decisions about that in terms of, for example, the increase in the fee in lieu being an increase based on percentage rather than a fixed number amount. That's a relatively minor point. I would like to see us adopt something sooner rather than later, because I think it's important to get something on the record, and especially if we have another application come in, I would like them to have this in front of them. The development we approved over on Blue Hills Avenue, I think they did a great job in terms of including affordable housing. However, at the time, we said 10%, and I don't think we want 10% because that's the bare minimum under 8-30G. So we want either 12, I would say 12 or 15. I think that's where this commission is sort of going, although I would be open to something slightly higher. I think reading the information from the West Cog, rather, and the comments from Mr. Poland that, if you make the requirement too high, no one comes. So we want this to be something that people do. I don't think 12% or 15% are onerous, and I think we should get this on the books. The one piece that is missing from the discussion last time in terms of a basic thing is the commercial linkage fee. Since we are placing this in the context of workforce housing, which is a lot of what we want to do, I think the commercial linkage fee is important, and I think we should have a requirement in there that any business, new business employing more than X people, sort of like the size of subdivision type of thing, they need to pay something into the trust fund, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I don't know if we have language for that, but I'd like to see us get all of that done. Once we pass that, I think we can talk about maybe some more intricate stuff. I'm still open myself to the idea that there's a certain density we want in Bloomfield. In fact, one of the things I think we need to have a conversation about the POCD is, at the end of the day, what is the maximal population of Bloomfield? Because to be a sustainable community, we can only be so large. So to the degree that we give out density bonuses, I'm concerned that they're just going to infinity. I like the idea of, I think it was Windsor, that in one of their drafts, they were considering a density budget where they took from one, if you had higher density here, you had lower density somewhere else. But I think it's going to take us a long time to talk about that stuff. So I'd rather get something on the books that is effective for applications coming to town, and then modify it with hopefully some things that might benefit us particularly after we do that. So those are my comments at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the planning department updates some of the language in the draft inclusionary zoning document we've already seen, I do like the density bonus piece. Just reading through the West Cog study that Goldman York did on the financial study, it seems like to ensure that we are able to reach our goals in increasing affordable housing without making developers or banks or investors turn away, we need something like a multi-layered approach. So a density bonus they mentioned within it. They also mentioned some tax incentives. So I'd like to see a draft that, where we think about some incentives around taxes to encourage this type of development. And then there was something also about commercial conversion. So we only have so much, to Commissioner Goff's point, we only have so much land within Bloomfield. And so how do we think about infill? How do we encourage more diverse uses of the spaces that we already have? Is there any way to add some text or encouragement for more commercial conversions on spaces that may be underutilized or can be good opportunities for housing, but haven't been thought of in the past? It's something that I think a lot of cities are thinking differently about as people work from home and office spaces are not as used as they had been in the past. And then there was something in the West Cog study. I was hoping to ask someone about this, but I don't know if I understand it enough, but there was something about middle housing as a right of earning, as a right to earn housing unit equivalent points. I don't know if you're as familiar with that, but that was something that just popped out in terms of incentivizing a more diverse housing stock. And another way to help reduce the burden on applicants or developers is in the West Cog study, they mentioned permit fee waivers. So where there are affordable housing application or affordable units within these proposed developments, can we, as a planning or in a town, and put some of this in our inclusionary zoning so that just to make it easier than just adding a regulation that makes it harder. Just want to be mindful of the balance of needing to do, like, not wanting to discourage housing, or people to do business in Bloomfield, but also to encourage and really put some muscle behind our desire for more affordable housing. So those are all my comments today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Marshall Neely.
Thank you. I always think about affordable housing when I look around Bloomfield, and I actually concur with both of my colleagues and the information that they shared with the commission. I am not fully versed on West Cog and the West Cog study, so I'm going to do some research on that myself. But I also feel as though incentivizing folks to tax incentives to bring that business into Bloomfield for a specific amount of time, I think it works for us just to get it in here and to grow our community. I do like that density bonus option. I like that. I think that maybe we can focus on getting more depth with what we want to do with that. And the diverse housing issue, I just want to know, what is everyone's definition of diverse? Is diverse including different age groups or different statuses, or, what is the definition of diverse, and how would we measure that with, diverse housing? I think that with inclusionary zoning, I think we have a lot of work to do. I think we can do the work, and I think we should continue the discussion. And I do agree with Commissioner Goff that we should get something written down so that we can start working towards our goal. And that's all I have to say right now.
Thank you. Commissioner Bolton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Process-wise, John and Linda, it's been a while since we've done something like this in terms of text amendments or any type of updates to our regs. The process again would be the commission goes through, comes up with language that they deem appropriate to revise our current regs for this inclusionary section. And then it would go to a public hearing.
Yes, it would be, in a formal sense, it would be a text amendment. Be a text amendment introduced by the commission. It would have a referral to the Capital Region Council of Governments so that any surrounding towns can comment on it. That's a 30-day referral period. You would hold a public hearing, and then you could act on it. But it's, when all is said and done, it boils down to being a typical text amendment.
Thank you.
For process purposes.
Thank you. My schedule hasn't allowed for me to delve into everything that's come across my email about the inclusionary requirements or changes and/or affordable housing. I did get an opportunity to skim through the West Cog study. I believe that was by Gorman and York, Western or Southern Connecticut.
Yeah, they provide.
I think one of the bigger takeaways from that study was that zoning changes alone aren't going to change the issue and the problem with affordable housing in the country, and let alone in the state of Connecticut. So that was number one that I took away from that study. The other was their reference to that area being business centered, and that the majority of the folks in that area, they work in like New York City, but that the overall demographic and population towards the need for housing was not necessarily driven by even affordability, but by the business and how close they were to the places where they work. As I work in this space, I'm working on several projects now with the Housing Authority. I'm always stricken by how unaffordable housing is in the state. I certainly commend the Housing Authority and others like the Hartford Land Bank who strive to make a dent in this problem. But the fact is, even with 100% subsidy, none of these developments in the state of Connecticut are affordable that are geared towards low-income residents. And so, although I'm all for trying to create that space, because I don't know if I've shared this before, I thought I have, but being an immigrant to this country, we came here, moved to Hartford. From Hartford, we moved to Bloomfield on Rockwell Avenue, and it was a small little cape for like 6 of us. And I believe my parents told me back then they paid about $30,000 or so, which seemed like a lot of money back then. But that is the plan, right? You come to Bloomfield, start your family, you want something affordable, maybe small at first. And then as we did, we went from Rockwell to Linwood, a raised ranch, much bigger space. And it was somewhat affordable still back then. And so I want to see that continue in this town. It's not the town's fault. The macroeconomic issues, supply and demand that are driving up the cost of housing is beyond any of our control. The cost for construction is beyond our control post the pandemic. I'm dealing with projects now where, you know, they want us to, through force majeure, give flexibility in equipment pricing, right? You can hold it for today, but if the equipment isn't coming for a year from now and the prices escalate through no fault of the contractor or even the supplier, you know, they want flexibility with the state. The state of Connecticut says absolutely not. Your number is your number. And so this is a difficult situation to attack. I certainly love the fabric of this town and this community, so I certainly want that preserved and protected, just like Commissioner Goff likes the farmland preserved and protected. But I also want to see the same opportunities that were extended to me and my family, extended to everyone that's coming up. And it's just very expensive to live in this state these days. So I know I'm not prepared today to really delve into this. I do share your question about the definition of diverse housing, whether it's, I don't even know how to define that because I don't know the housing stock in the town of Bloomfield and where we are in terms of turnover and sales and foreclosure, et cetera. So I don't even know what the availability, I would assume it's like everywhere else where it's just the demand is there, but the supply is not. But look forward to continuing this conversation. And Commissioner James and Goff, thank you for bringing this to the commission. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before we go any further, Jonathan, would you have a definition for that diverse housing?
The definition is basic, right now, the definition that comes out of the state of Connecticut, qualified affordable housing is the 80% median household income as defined by Connecticut Section 8-30 and regulations of the state. That's what the state uses and passes on down to the towns at this point in terms of the technical definition of affordable housing.
Mr. Chair.
What about diverse? Yeah.
I'm not aware of a definition of diverse, quite frankly.
Okay.
Can I just add,
Sure.
when I
Commissioner
speak about
James.
diverse housing stock, I mean, the types of housing units. So Bloomfield is over 90% single-family homes.
Mhm.
So talking about more condominiums, multifamily, different types of housing options.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir, for that clarification. Commissioner Millette.
I'm just reflecting back to, I think one of the wins that we've had was the updates to allow the ADUs and expand those. I just have a kind of a list of some opportunities. One is definitely the trust fund. That might give us some opportunity where in a newer development, if it doesn't fit, they can do the fee in lieu of. I also want to make sure that within what we propose, that we don't lose sight of, or we don't only focus exclusively on the 8-30 strict definition, but in general, is there a way to have some market affordability? I don't know if there is in the state of Connecticut, but I'm thinking of Commissioner Bolton, sharing kind of the trading up, starting out, in that small cape or small ranch and giving that opportunity. And I'll just, segue into the takeaways I got from the report by the Western Connecticut study that I hadn't thought of, found interesting was the focus on converting existing units. Everything is really laser focused on, new builds, density bonuses. So their recommendation, and I really thought it was helpful to think through, was smaller units. They're easier to economically, which we typically as a land use don't think about. It's not usually in our purview, but in this case, I think we can think through that. So the size of the units, I don't know, is it efficiency but the small unit, the 1 bedroom, and then it's much more difficult to, say build new 3-bedroom apartments with 2 baths and have that be affordable. It also helps us, reuse. Just the cost of building new is really difficult with all the efficiency regulations, and probably half the permits would be more. For our existing regulations, I know we've talked about relooking at the PEC and the PLR. So, one takeaway probably would be, I'm happy to kind of look through what we currently have. I think there's been some recommendations in the past that we haven't acted on, which might have been lot size for, can we fit multifamily? I think some of that we have fixed, and I think I'm not sure if that's all been fixed yet. So those comments a little bit off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Peters.
So I don't think I have much to say that hasn't already been said, but I mean, we're dealing with a pretty unique and elaborate issue to try to conquer. And I think that we just in the future when we actually have a fuller discussion, because I also need to confess that I need to do a little bit more research. Um, but we need to be creative and also at the same time be very decisive in the words that we use and how we use them, because certain statements, as we just kind of figured out right now, when we say talk about diverse housing, that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people, or it could mean different things to different people, and the way it's outlined by the state versus the way it's outlined by our town could differ vastly. And I know we want to work towards equitable housing or diverse housing to include a lot of different I guess different salaries or different income bases. The reality of it, which I've kind of realized over the past couple of months, is Bloomfield, we have a pretty niche demographic. And although we're trying to encourage growth in some other areas, from what I've been hearing over the last couple of months by, from the reports we've been presented or things we've read, it's not going to happen overnight. And I don't want that to be discouraging to any one of the commissioners in anything that we decide and any text that we choose to revise, but it just might not happen overnight. And what we're trying to pitch may not be bought by developers or people who are trying to create some sort of establishment and profit in Bloomfield, because obviously they need to create something that benefits them as well. They're not doing it purely for their humanitarian efforts. Sorry to say, but that's not always the case, and it just needs to look equitable to them as well. And building smaller or building single family or multifamily units when Bloomfield's demographic looks for single family, I'm just not sure how we figure that problem out or make the change or pivot to the future of what Bloomfield should look like. Um, so that's why I encourage us to really dig deep into these words or these terms and these studies and try to be creative on how to inspire the change that we're trying to achieve, because it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be immediate.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not sure that I have much to contribute to the conversation as it is, because where I am now is to try to connect the different aspects of the development and as it leads into affordable housing. Where I am is trying to make sense of these different things in terms of available available development within Bloomfield and the housing stock, as Commissioner Peters has mentioned, and then reasonable expectation for development, and how that leads into the kind of incentives that have been mentioned. So, so that's where I am. I'm trying to make sense of all of these aspects of this what we're discussing now. So I continue to learn and look to obtain more information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ina. And the only thing I'll add is I do like the idea of adding more incentives, like Commissioner James mentioned regarding tax incentives / possibly abatements. I think the more options that we can give a developer, the better off and the easier easier it would be for him to find something that would be attractive. When Gorman and York gave their presentation, one of the things they did say was housing development would be a little bit more difficult in implementing the inclusionary tax plan versus apartment-wise. So that's the other thing that we can keep in mind. And also, you guys mentioned about the smaller style houses. I believe there's been a developer from New York that's implemented something similar to that in several towns now in Connecticut, where there've been kind of like extremely small type apartments, maybe 600 square feet or 700 square feet, but the whole building itself was affordable housing. So, I mean, that's another option that we can look into. But overall, I think adding more incentives, and then, you know, staying true to the actual inclusionary part, the 80%, and we can also probably go down to 60% in some cases, I think is a good start. And like Mr. Peters said, this may not be something that bear fruit overnight, but once we can at least get something in place, I think we can get the clock started. So with that said, hopefully we can come back again and be a little bit more definitive on our text amendment that we actually want to implement. And I don't know if you guys want to set up a special meeting to do that, or if that's something that we can just include on one of our regular agenda items. I'm open for that.
I was just gonna stress that I don't think we should wait. I realize the planning department is very busy right now. There's a lot on your plate. But I would agree with Commissioner Goff and Commissioner Marshall Neely that we should do this sooner than later. I believe it's really important, and I wouldn't want another developer to come in front of us with something that we could have said that would have been 10% or 12% or however, whatever percent we land on of affordable units. That is, I think that's really important for us to do. That's my addition.
Commissioner Goff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things. First of all, I think the developer that you were referring to as Vessel is
The smaller?
yeah, the smaller
Yes,
and the what I think is interesting about that, because I think I've mentioned it to a couple of people on the commission and other people. One of the problems they've had in several towns they've gone to, some towns embrace them, some towns don't. I don't think it's so much the size. They are very, very modernistic design. And some towns, you know, it's not appropriate. Some towns it may be. I would posit if we could find a location for that kind of housing near the Wild Building, near Cigna, near the Skidmore, Owens and Merrill building that we have in town that is an architectural masterpiece that is in the same style. That would be something that Bloomfield could embrace and in fact sell. So I think, you know, I think they're a good organization or a good concept, but in the right place. The other thing I want to say is that, I certainly agree with Commissioner Bolton that, you know, the problem with affordable housing when people start to our workforce, whatever you want to call it, the problem they start talking about is it sort of immediately descends into there's not enough housing. And I don't think that's really the problem. I think the problem is there's not enough affordability. I think that the trajectory that Commissioner Bolton gave used to be the general trajectory, starter house, move up, then downsize. You know, we're not just at the starter house problem, we're at the problem where a lot of our seniors can't downsize because there are not, you know, again, one of the great things with that Blue Hills development is that is going to have affordable units, which we can, you know, we can designate that require, one thing would be for Bloomfield residents who want to downsize. Because then they have a place to go, because quite honestly, most of them are not going to have the money to go into one of our planned, our planned elderly communities, our PECs. those have taken a decidedly different financial turn. So while I agree with Commissioner Bolton also that these problems are problems of the economy and the economy we've created, they are beyond our control in that respect, but they are not beyond our control in the respect that what we can do is we can try to make the economy work in Bloomfield. I think that we had a developer who is doing something very good on Blue Hills Avenues. I don't think it would have been, I think they would have been happy to do 12%, maybe even 15. I really like the idea of having a financial incentive where we waive a lot of the building permit costs, because that's easier than a tax abatement, but it's something up front that is going to reduce their costs up front, reduce their initial capital costs. So I just think it's important that we get something that is workable, at least in the short term, and we can talk about a lot more and jigger with it as time goes on. So I agree with that.
Sure.
Yeah, Commissioner Bolt.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Goff. Again, working in the space, I'm not certain how you get around some of these macro problems. If you have any ideas, please let HUD know, because right now we're building affordable housing units at between 200 and 250,000 per unit. And these aren't, there's nothing luxurious about it. It's bare bottom, bare bones. And it is just the market. I really want to see something get done. I just don't know that economically there is a path forward within the next 12, even 36 months. It's going to take time. I also don't want to shortchange our revenue stream here. We make a lot of money off of building permits. I do want to make sure that anything that we're doing, Jonathan and Linda, that the legal department makes sure that we're not putting the town in any jeopardy. You know, i.e., if we start waiving building permits for this developer because he's going to help us achieve some density, and then a market rate developer comes in and says, hey, you did it for one, you should do it for me. What would be the basis, the legal basis for denying that particular developer from waiving their application fee as well? So I want us to be very thoughtful and mindful that although we're throwing a lot of things out into the ether, there are legal implications to this. Again, I do work in this space, and so I don't want to gloss over the fact that it sounds great, but there are going to be challenges. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll just say that I was under the impression that that would be an option, that it would be maybe 7 or 8 different options that a developer would be able to choose from. And if he so chooses the waiving of the building permits, then that would be his option. That's an option one developer would choose, and another one might take a density option and say, okay, I'd rather build more and take advantage of that versus paying any money. So it would only be an option. That's why I like having a menu of things. And when she mentioned about the taxes, that makes a lot of sense, because it kind of gives them a broad range to choose from. And as accommodating as we can be, I think that would be helpful to them. What good point you made in terms of any legal aspirations on it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject for a moment, I think it's, it's certainly desirable to have a menu of options, but some of those options, quite frankly, are not within the commission's control.
Okay.
Options like tax abatements and tax incentives, and probably the waiving of the fees, would require action by the town council in amendments to existing ordinances.
Okay.
We can speak to density, we can speak to lot size, we can speak to those things that relate directly to land use in our regulations. And we can certainly suggest that other things be available, but in terms of actually effectuating them, we would need the partnership with the town council.
Thank you for that. Okay, is there any more discussion on this?
So just to talk about process, the planning department will have an updated draft
Yes, we will.
What do we think for timeline?
Whenever
on that?
whenever the commission desires. If they want a special meeting, we'll have to have it ready for a special meeting. If not, we would go to the meeting in February, which is towards the end of the month. So there are dates. I think the next meeting is at least 5 weeks out because this meeting was earlier in the month. So there are opportunities for special meetings on a variety of Thursdays for this and the POCD
Yeah.
at the discretion of the commission.
Okay. So maybe we can do that tonight then. Set up a special meeting to discuss
Commissioner Ola.
oh, yeah, Commissioner Ina.
Yes, I have a question. Do we have a grasp or understanding of all the, how should I put it, all the things to be considered before, in order to be able to discuss this? Because I've been on this commission for about a year now, and it seems to me that the applications are driving our work. Do we have a strategy, is a well thought out strategy or understanding of what the real needs are to be able to set goals, and then to see where all these kinds of discussion of incentives and abatements and all these things fit in? Do we have a master strategy? Do we have it based on the good understanding of the status of Bloomfield? How much developable land do we have? How much do we really need to give any incentive as such? I mean, those kinds of questions that need to be worked out thoroughly so that we all have uniform, clear understanding of that can lead to having a strategy so that when the developer comes, we are ready. That's the question.
Jonathan, you want to?
Yes.
Well, to some degree, the strategy will be set forth in your updated POCD. And then it's also set forth in the zoning regulations that follow from that. But I think we're also driven to some degree by the state requirements that we want to maintain a minimum of 10% of defined affordable housing on the overall housing stock. And we get a report on that annually from the state. We should be getting the latest report in the next few weeks. So we'll know where we stand. But I think that's where you get your overall strategies. I think it's, I know a number of people will say, okay, here's all your available land and here's how it's zoned. That basically would only tell you the maximum that you could do, which I think is very misleading in terms of looking at how you want to develop your community. To the point that Commissioner Goff made earlier, you certainly don't want to build out to the maximum permitted growth. That would drastically change the character of the community. So I think it's really, to some degree, the philosophy that's set forth in the Plan of Conservation and Development and related studies, and what's set forth in the purpose and permission in your zoning regulations.
Thank you. Oh, you're all set, Commissioner Ina?
Well, I would like to think that we should have the extent of this discussion to where majority of us have understanding of the different the points and how they fit, so that we can have a more or less uniform understanding and a sense of strategy.
Okay.
One more.
Point taken. Duly noted.
I,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have someone who actually wrote in a comment.
Oh, sure.
I don't believe that they're able to speak
Okay.
due to they're on the phone. Rickford Curtin wrote, "Thank you for the important work you do as the Town Planning and Zoning Commission in shaping Bloomfield's future. As you address critical issues like diverse and affordable housing, it's essential to balance the needs of residents already facing high property taxes with the need to create inclusive housing options. Your role in guiding responsible development, leveraging smart growth strategies, and ensuring fair and sustainable policies is vital. Transparent planning and community engagement are key to ensuring that we build a town that remains vibrant, inclusive, and economically sound for all residents. By Rickford Curtin.
Oh, thank you, Rickford, for those comments. Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, you guys want to set a special meeting where we can tackle both the PLCD and the inclusionary housing? Okay. Jonathan, our next full-blown meeting is, okay, February 27th?
Is February.
27th.
Gotta get on the right calendar. Next full meeting is February 27th.
Okay. So do you guys want to do a special meeting a week before or 2 weeks before? You can do the 20th or the 13th.
Can we do the 13th?
Oh, hold on.
6.
Ooh. Okay, not sure if I'll have a conflict on there. Okay, so is the 20th completely out for everybody?
No, not for me.
Okay, the 20th actually would be a little more preferable for me also. Commissioner Ina, Commissioner Peters, you guys have any preference of 20th or the 13th for a special meeting to tackle PLCD and inclusionary housing?
No, I don't have it.
Either one is fine so far. Either one is fine for me so far.
Okay, actually, I might have a conflict on the 13th.
Could we move it back even a week further? Is it
Six,
what
to
was
the
it,
6th?
6th? Because that would give us more time between that meeting and the actual meeting for any changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good for the 6th.
Just a point, I would want to be mindful of the planning department's ability to make the updates in that period.
Time.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, Jonathan, what is your time frame? What do you think is realistic for you guys to do what you need to do?
We work to the convenience of the commission, so we can work to either date.
Okay.
The 6th?
Okay.
Is the 6th good? Yeah. Leon, Ina, is February 6th work?
Yeah, that's
It
fine.
does.
Okay.
It's fine.
Can I ask one more question, Mr. Chair?
Oh, absolutely.
Just, can we sort of come up with a plan of how we're going to come into that meeting with, I mean, I think for the affordable housing, I think the planner is going to take the draft and send that out, maybe with some additional changes, commercial linkage, whatever, so that we can work from that, decide how we want to change it. For the land use map, what is a way of going about that? Do we have a suggestion? See,
Well, I think, you're actually going to work on it, but my intent is to get a workable, so it's smaller than that, but larger than on your screen, paper maps to all of you, no later than early next week, so that you'd have the maps there with you to scribble on and do your thing. And if you have questions, be able to call us and we can respond or ask us, send us emails. But I'd give you a document that you can actually mark up.
and then we would all come in with our
We'd all
markups.
come in with our marked up documents. see if we can reach consensus.
Okay. Do you want to include that on the 6th also?
Yep.
Dealing with the land use map?
Yeah, that's, I mean, the easy part on that is we're just gonna prepare a map and send it out to you.
Okay.
I mean, it's really your decision if you want to have the commitment to deal with both of them. My sense is that, as has been indicated, I think you'll probably move through the inclusionary zoning fairly quickly. And that you're gonna, you know, if we can give a draft that's responsive to the comments that are made today, and I think we can, I think the broader discussion is gonna be on the land use, future land use map.
All right, another question. In terms of the financial incentives that we were talking about, is that something that you would discuss directly with the mayor or the town manager to try to see if that's something that's feasible to include in this amendment?
Well, again, it will require a formal action by the council in terms of amending their tax incentive policy that they have now, that they're not adverse to amending it and whatnot. They have support of affordable housing. The process there is that I would submit a memorandum for discussion to the appropriate council committee or committees through the town manager. That schedule may not sync completely with the commission's schedule, because I think the earliest that I'd be able, I know the earliest that I would get on would be the committee's February meetings, and it may or may not even make that. It may not get pushed to the March meetings in terms of the council's requirements. And that would be the committee action. Depending on the action that the committee determines, would then move on to council review and action, including a public hearing, and that's the way they operate. That's at least a 2-meeting process. So in terms of council action, if they were to be supportive and move expeditiously, you're looking probably not action till sometime in April, understanding that they're also going to be going through the budget process simultaneously.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, can I
Sure.
speak?
Commissioner James?
John, would you be able to check just what currently we could do? I recall the council talking about tax abatements at some point. Can't exactly remember what that was, but what currently could we do without the process you just mentioned? Could you just check what potential there is?
I can distribute the tax abatement policy that exists, definitely. I mean, town has a tax abatement policy, but it's mainly directed at larger developments and commercial developments. Not at affordable housing, quote unquote, as presently defined. And that's what would have to be added to the policy. But I can certainly distribute that policy.
All right. Thank you. All right. So at this point, we agreed that February 6th, we'd come back and have a special meeting on the PLCD and also the inclusionary zoning. Next item on the agenda is new business. Jonathan?
Right with you, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I add is that I did distribute to all of you a slide deck from the Freedom of Information Commission last week. The staff went through a 2.5-hour training session with a representative directly from the FOI Commission on the procedures, rules, and regulations of FOI as they apply to all of us in varying degrees. I would urge you to review it because it applies directly to how you conduct yourselves vis-a-vis discussions about applications, review of applications, and decisions. It's fairly understandable If you have any questions, feel free to text us, email us, call us. But that is something that is obviously important to how we conduct the business of the commission.
Thank you. Well, with that said, Chair, I entertain a motion.
Suppose?
Yeah, that's
Moved.
the last item.
So moved.
I don't, you may need a vote just to set the special meeting.
Oh, okay.
Good figure.
The chair entertain a motion to set a special meeting for February 6th to discuss the plan of conservation development and also the inclusionary zoning. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstention, chair votes aye. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Now at this time, the chair entertain that motion.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
It's 8:33 PM.
Be